Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! ISB!
A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. It is Monday, June 5. Thanks a lot for being along with us. Another edition of Indiana Sports Beat. Don't forget, we're powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymorehonda.com to get more to your door with Andy Moore, and also the wealth of family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area. If you're visiting or if you live in the area, Endeavor Hospitality, great places like BB's Market, which now the Chop Shop right next door. Great steakhouse. Stop in if you're coming in for a game or whatever. How are you doing? How was your weekend? Lots happening, lots to talk about. Of course, college baseball going on. The College World Series, Indiana State, Ball State, all in that. Indiana's still playing. They have to play today. They had an opportunity yesterday to win the Kentucky Regional, but lost to number 12 Kentucky, number 12 ranked Kentucky. They had beaten them once already. Now they face them once again today in a winner-take-all to see who moves on to the Super Regional. John, did Indiana State win?
They did. Indiana State will move on to the Super Regional. They took down Iowa in their championship game.
Oh, wow. So they not only that, they take a Big Ten team out along the way with them. So Indiana State already in. Pretty cool. Think about potentially Indiana being able to put two teams into the College World Series. That's mind-boggling.
That is. And depending on who wins, supposedly TCU has a good chance in coming out of the regional that's connected with Indiana State's regional. And if that's the case, Indiana State will also be the host of their Super Regional.
That would be cool. But speaking of TCU, I can't remember his name, but one of their players hit not one, but two grand slam home runs in consecutive innings. First of all, to even get in the position to be able to do that, the odds are very long for you to get up with the bases loaded again in the following inning, and then to hit back-to-back grand slam home runs. That's incredible. But that's what makes college baseball so wild, and people love to. They probably don't watch a lot of it during the season, but kind of like the NBA. When the playoffs roll around, it's a little more fun. In college baseball, you have so many different teams in it right now. That makes it wild to watch. Speaking of the NBA playoffs, the Heat, they win game 2. They tied the series at 1 apiece, knocking off Denver. So for the folks that thought that Denver is going to sweep and run that away, not going to happen. A few boat notes for recruiting. I sent out a tweet yesterday. It is believed that Joey Hart from Linton Stockton High School was set to arrive in Bloomington for a visit last night. He has become a very sought-after shooter. He's a shooter. Supposed to be visiting Kentucky as well. But that is a development for Indiana. Mike Woodson was very cavalier about filling that position when he spoke down at Huber's. And I think that not only is this would be the perfect fit. He's an Indiana kid. And he's legit. Committed to Central Florida, decommitted to Central Florida, was granted his unconditional release. And we'll see how that one works out. He's going to visit Kentucky and Indiana. This is going to be a straight up battle between Indiana and Kentucky, I think. And it just is going to come down to, does Indiana have any sway in just it being Indiana because that's where he's from? Is it just going to come down to recruiting? And if it does, if you're an Indiana fan, you should be confident in Mike Whitson. He has done a hell of a job. I think he's picked up the recruiting game pretty quickly. So yeah, he's going up against the ultimate car salesman in John Calipari. But Mike Woodson also has Indiana back to a place of great respectability where they had fallen away from for quite some time. That, and being a part of that, is also a potential draw for Joey Hart. How happy would that make Indiana fans to land a guy like that? Fred, we appreciate you hitting us up on the Andy Moranda hotline. Says he doesn't know why, but mine and John, the producer's voices are welcomed each morning. Well, I appreciate that. We appreciate you guys being along for the ride. Appreciate everybody, wherever you're listening from. Of course, Fred's in Pennsylvania, but our great listeners on the airwaves of the Ref 97.7, ESPN, always the right call, down in Evansville, WBRO 89.9 in Marengo. Our good friends on the Fan, Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 AM. Keep it tuned right here. Catch Caleb and Kenny in the morning and Brett Rump in the afternoon. Fort Wayne's getting taken care of now. And you got Indiana Sports Beat Radio on top of that. Our good friends in Hammond and Chicago listening on WJOB, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. We appreciate everybody. No matter, like I said, no matter where you're listening, our YouTube listeners all around the world. So a lot picking up finally with baseball, college baseball going on. Just so many games to watch. A lot of games were delayed last night, I noticed. A lot of weather. I mean, there were at least 3 different regionals that were delayed. Kenneth says he's not interested in Hart. Well, unfortunately, Kenneth, you're not doing the recruiting. And why you wouldn't be is a mystery.
I guess while we're talking about Hart, and I know the whole point is to fill the last scholarship. Do we think this Hart kid would have...
The whole point is to get a shooter.
Of course, and so with that being said, and the fact that he is a shooter, do you think he sees minutes next year over guys like CJ Gunn?
Repeat that again.
If Joey Hart were to commit to Indiana and he fills that last scholarship, do you think he has enough talent to be able to play over guys like CJ Gunn?
Enough talent? Sure. But I'm not saying that he would. CJ also has the talent to play over Joey Hart. But that's what you want. You need that level of competition between those guys, because that is what raises the bar. That's what raises everything, the abilities of the team. You need that competition. Tom Allen says it all the time. Iron sharpens iron. That's what that means. You cannot have. You need guys that are pushing each other. That's how they get better. But also, they're not going to play 40 minutes a game. So there's minutes and opportunities for everyone, but you need that to be pushed. Yeah, absolutely. He would be a great addition to Indiana. Exactly what they need. Kenneth, I'm not following you on your takes on this one. He thinks that it's. I don't know why you would think that that's not a good idea. Saying that's iron dulling steel wool. I completely disagree. Absolutely. I mean, why? What's the point of having one then? Why would you? Did they not need a shooter last year? Did they not need a shooter the year before that? I'm confused on. And it's Jason types in asking, why lock up a scholarship for 4 years on a 3-star? First of all, this is not a 4-year scholarship that you're locking up. Secondly, you don't have guys you're not recruiting guys that are going to be here for 4 years. That train has left the station. That train has left the station. And if he is talented enough, and he must be apparently more talented than you guys are letting on or acknowledging, there's a reason that Kentucky wants him. There's a reason that Indiana wants him. So, and I'm going to defer to the experts. And that's what they do. So I'm going to go with the attitude that if they think he's good enough, he's good enough. That's not my job to judge his talent right now. But we'll find out. But his name is one that circulated around for a while. He's a pretty good shooter and is apparently on campus. I was told that he was supposed to have gotten in last night for a visit, so we'll see how that goes. He's also supposed to visit Kentucky this week, I believe. K-Bro's on the program today. Looking forward to that. He'll be joining us here up next. Dustin Dopirak on the show, too, from the Indy Star. Get the show filled out today. Looking forward to it. We've got lots more. And looking forward to taking more of your comments on the Andy Moore Honda hotline as we've hit a little hot button with the Joey Hart thing. Lots more Indiana Sports Beat brought to you by the Chop Shop, located right next door to BB's Market. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the
I'll tell you what, Kenneth, Kentucky does need warm bodies. They are very light on scholarship players.
Were you talking to me?
No, Kenneth said Kentucky needs warm bodies, and I'm like, that is absolutely the truth. They are very short on scholarship players right now.
Well, I'd take Joey Hart in a heartbeat. No pun intended.
I think it's good. If you fill up the roster, I don't think it matters if he's going to be somebody who plays or not. If you want to have somebody else who can help out in practice, that's a good thing.
Yep.
I mean, that's exactly what somebody like Logan Duncan was for the last 2 years. He didn't do anything on the floor.
I don't know that he did anything in practice.
I mean, we'll never know either way.
I'm serious. I don't think he did.
Let me let K-Bro know we're ready for him just in case he's... Usually I feel like he hops on time.
There was some words exchanged in that game yesterday, and I don't know.
Yeah, the assistant coach for Indiana was saying something to UK's head coach at the end. All right, yeah, Kevin will be on just a moment. Here we go.
Group, launched from a previous staple in Bloomington, the former Function Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste what Dr. Hops is brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Monday. Never a good day, but good thing is only one of those this week. Appreciate you being with us. Jim Coyle, Indiana Sports Beat. Waiting for K-Bro as he'll be joining us soon. Kevin Brockway. Dustin and Dopirak will be joining us later as well from Indy Star. Get his take on the NBA Finals going on. And both of the takes on our discussion regarding Joey Hart. K-Bro, how are you, my man? That's good to hear. Is Kevin settling in to join us? How is everyone?
What's wrong with my camera?
Don't worry about it, brother. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. I don't know why my camera's not showing up.
Don't worry about it. Just talking about college baseball going on right now. There's so many games to watch. Fun. Indiana in the middle of a battle, of course. Indiana State getting a win. Clemson getting knocked out. They're eliminated. Weren't they ranked fourth?
They were. I think they were somewhere in the top 5. Yeah.
Man, yeah, they got knocked out. I think Charlotte beat them.
I think so. Yeah. So we are live, obviously. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I am in baseball purgatory myself. I just apologies for being late. I just had to create a file. Florida and Texas Tech went I worked about 13 hours because Florida was in the losers bracket. They played Connecticut at noon. Then they had an hour and a half weather delay. So I didn't get out of the press box last night until 1 a.m. It was crazy. And then they beat Texas Tech. So they have a kind of a deciding game 7 with Texas Tech today. And I saw your Indiana Hoosiers against Kentucky have a big game 7 coming up. And they lost 16-6 last night. How many batters did they hit? They hit 8 batters or something like that?
It may not have been accidental.
Not against the Kentucky Wildcats for sure. Postseason baseball, it's a lot of fun, you know, this time of year when teams can advance and the ping of the aluminum bats. And Florida's had some pretty good crowds down here. They've had 7,000-8,000 at their new ballpark. that they opened 2 or 3 years ago. It's a beautiful ballpark down here. And the team has given the fans something to cheer about down here.
Yeah, I saw that the Gators were hanging in there. Now, did they win their regional, or do they have a game to play?
No, they have a game to play today at noon. It's going to be on ESPNU. They lost Saturday night, 5-4 to Texas Tech. So they had to go through the losers bracket. They beat UConn 8-2. No sign of Danny Hurley in the stands. And then they beat Texas Tech last night 7-1. So deciding game 7 today. But it's, they're trying to get back to the Super Regionals College World Series for the first time since 2018. They've had a little drought here. And this is a very talented team for Florida. Wyatt Langford is a guy who's probably going to go in the top 5 in the Major League Baseball draft. They have him projected to go 3 to the Detroit Tigers. And they also have a couple of pitchers, Herschel Waldrop and Brandon Sprode, who are projected first-round draft picks. I mean, they were SEC co-champs with Arkansas. So this is, it would be a disappointment if they didn't get out of regionals today. But we will see how it goes. So how are you enjoying Cape Coral?
Just working away like always, staying with it. Just a different location is all. Doing it.
Yeah, I thought you would be down in Lexington, but I guess you'd have trouble getting hotel rooms right down there or something like that. Or?
You would have had to stay in Louisville. I know that your replacement, Todd, was covering that regional, and he got a hotel room in Middletown, which is eastern Louisville, to cover that. But that's only a 45-minute drive, so that's no big deal. But yeah, I would have liked to have been there, but it just didn't work out. We'll be watching it though. Is that game 7, as you called it today, winner take all, baby, to move on to the Super Regionals. And that would only be Indiana's second Super Regional ever if they're able to get that done. So it'll be interesting to see. They're very young, but they're very talented, man. They've just got a lot of young talent.
Hey, I noticed this. The Indiana State, they're hosting a regional, and somebody pointed out this to me. They have a graveyard beyond the left field fence there in Terre Haute.
I didn't notice it.
Yeah. It's kind of like where foul balls go to die. Like, intended. But if you look at their baseball stadium, there's a bunch of tombstones beyond the left field seats up there.
I would play that up. I would say that those are all the tombstones of the teams that we've beaten.
Yeah, why not?
And it's so funny too. Baseball is one of those sports where, or Indiana State is not a school you see that does a lot in big time sports usually. But there's another one that is in further more mind boggling. Dallas Baptist.
Yes.
Dallas Baptist.
Yep.
Can you imagine people, Dallas Baptist, making the Final Four in basketball? No, you can't. Neither can I. But
we had Florida Atlantic, that was kind of like that.
Maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, basketball, it's changed. It's definitely changed.
Basketball's had a few commuter schools over the years that have done well. And Jackson, you go back to the 70s with Jacksonville, right? That Artis Gilmore team.
Artis Gilmore played for the Kentucky Colonels.
Yeah.
In the old ABA.
Yep. San Diego State is kind of they're getting to be a bigger school, but they made the finals. And you just can't do that in football. You can do it in basketball, and Yeah, and basketball is really changing with NIL. It's like we said, we saw these different teams that just made that a crazy tournament last year. So I think that's going to continue. There's just too much change. And so with getting to the Final Four taking so much luck as well as talent, boy, that's just really going to shake it up so much, I think. It's obviously it's a, one and done sport too. So, if you have a bad day, if baseball were one and done, Florida would be eliminated right now, right? And then if baseball was one and done in Indiana's regional, Indiana would be moving on against Kentucky instead of having to play a deciding game today. So it's kind of, I think that's what makes basketball unique, is that if you have one bad day, you're kaput, you're through. I saw this too. I saw that last night about Iowa tying a record with 10 hits. It must be something about Indiana State. Yeah. Iowa hit 10. Yeah.
Indiana.
Iowa hit 10 and Indiana hit 8 yesterday. I don't know what's going on in the Big Ten. They just,
maybe it gets, I don't know, makes
unbelievable.
Some people upset.
By the way, I was in Dustin last week for the SEC spring meetings, a beautiful Dustin, where I know a lot of Hoosiers vacation. That's just so beautiful down there. And, I actually worked down there in 1999 for the Northwest Florida Daily News, so it's kind of good to be back. But obviously the big news, SEC sticking with the 8-game schedule, and I'm sure that sticks in your craw because I know we've debated it, and the Big Ten is still staying with 9. And I know
the Big Ten's never going to change. The Big Ten will never come off of 9, and the rest of the world is going to have to go to 8. By that I mean the SEC, and once the SEC does it, whatever is left of the Big 12, the Pac-12, those iterations, it has to be the same. You can't. College football is different than other sports. Because for one, there's so many fewer games, and each game carries such importance. To only have to win 2 stinking conference games to make a bowl game is just ridiculously dumb. And then on top of that, what is the point of having 1,000 teams in your conference if you're only playing 2/3 of your schedule as conference games?
Well, they require, Greg Sankey said they require a 9th Power 5 for the SEC. Apparently,
then why not make that a conference game? That's just that's even dumber than hell.
Because the SEC is the toughest conference in America, according to, and I think some of those teams. But the main driving force behind this, Jim, is money. I mean, the Big Ten has a better TV deal. Yep. And the SEC wants more money from ESPN. And in this cord-cutting era, ESPN is not in a position at this time to give the SEC more money. They just laid off a bunch of employees. They're in not the greatest financial straits. So I think they're holding out for a better TV deal. So this is just a temporary – apparently this is 2024. They're not doing permanent rivals, by the way, but they're having a scheduling show on June 14th. So if there are any SEC fans out there that want to see what the schedule is going to be for 2024, tune in. They turn it into a TV show. The Big Ten Network should do that, right? They should they kind of do that, right? Where they roll out the schedules and so forth. And I'm sure it's pretty successful.
Yep, I agree. Did you catch the Indiana starting second baseman was suspended for yesterday's game?
What did he do?
He brought on Indiana has a home run chain. You've seen all these plastic chains
yeah.
with the IU on it. They were celebrating and he had the chain in his hands.
And he got suspended?
A game. He did not get to play in the game yesterday. I don't think he was allowed to be at the park.
Is he one of their better hitters or no?
Well, it's a starter. I mean,
yeah.
It's just a hypocrisy. I mean, yeah, I get it. Okay. It's meant to be a rule for other things. It's probably not intended for that, but that's stupidity.
I'm honestly shocked that Kentucky scored 16 runs because they're kind of a punch and Judy lineup. I mean, they don't have really too many power threats in that lineup, but I guess you hit a bunch of guys, maybe you walk a bunch of guys. So I don't know how Indiana's pitching sets up for today, but if you throw strikes against those guys, you should be able to get them out. I mean, I think that's really the key. You shouldn't, go in scared of that lineup. You challenge that lineup, you throw strikes, play good defense, and see what happens. Here at Florida, the wind has been blowing in, and the Gators are kind of one of those, guerrilla teams that hits home runs all the time. So it's really affected their offense. They've had to play a little bit of small ball, and I think they got some breaks yesterday. There was a Texas Tech center fielder that lost a ball in the lights, and there were a couple of errors that led to a couple of runs and a rally. And the teams that generally play the best defense in the Christmas baseball this time of year usually win.
Yep. I was also talking about Joey Hart earlier. He has become a name that's being bounced around, going to Kentucky for a visit. And I was told he is in Bloomington visiting now, Indiana, as they have an open scholarship. He's just a 3-star, but shooter. But he's become a little more sought after here of recently. He's got a visit to Kentucky, like I said. He decommitted from Central Florida. But he's was just a middling, but he's become a really popular name.
From Linton, too. Yeah, local guy, right? So an in-state guy. So I see 31st ranked shooting guard in the country, 3-star. But what does he project as a three-point shooter? Pretty good three-point shooter, which is what Indiana could use, right?
Right.
So, hey, why not? Florida had a kid named Zion Pullen visit over the weekend, who's a guard from UC Riverside. I think he pulled his name from the NBA draft, and he's a point guard, scoring point guard, which is what they need. But I think that, Joey Hart, man, what else is going on in Hoosier? What were your thoughts about Caleb Love going to Arizona?
He had to land somewhere. You knew he was going to finally end up somewhere. Probably good for him. I mean, obviously Arizona had it going on last year until they didn't. I don't know I haven't studied them, but for this upcoming season, but obviously they have a great coach and that's a great program. So you can never go wrong when you go to a solid program.
Did Indiana kind of circle back on him at all, or no? Or did Woodson circle back on him, or no? After the Michigan,
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear of that. So I don't know how it went. I know, but down at Huber's, Mike Woodson was just he seemed very relaxed and honest and open. It's like, hey, the draft deadline was either that night or the night before, I forget. But he said, well, we'll just look, there'll be some guys in that, and that's what they're going to do. This is a position of need, but it's not one that if they didn't fill it, I don't know how much it's going to kill them unless you're bringing in the most elite shooter that there is. And Joey Hart's not that, but you just need a guy that is consistent, because this role is probably not going to be now a starter. That's going to remain with Trey Galloway. But if you can get a guy to come in and possibly put up a few more shots than Galloway does, unless Galloway kind of gets it going and starts shooting a little bit more often. And that was a subject down at Huber's as well, when someone asked about getting Galloway more shots. And Mike Woodson said, hey, listen here. And he wanted to make the point. I've never gotten on anybody for shooting the ball.
Yeah, and look, listen, I would trust Mike Woodson at this point.
Exactly.
You're talking about a guy who, 2 years, I said, this program is making progress. And as a fan, that's all you're entitled to. Now, next year, you'd like to get to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. I think that's the next step. You are losing, arguably one of the, best players in his era or in Indiana history, and Trace Jackson Davis. That's going to be a tall order. But I think they've done a lot, and we'll see how they develop Malik Renew. We'll see if some of these new guys coming in can really pan out. And I think that I think there's some positive strides. Zach Edey coming back for Purdue, though. What are your thoughts on that?
Completely expected. I mean, he wasn't going to get drafted, I don't think. If he did, it would have been a probably mid-second round pick, which no guarantees there. He's guaranteed to make more money. He knows what he's going to make next year in NIL. But there was no way he was leaving Purdue. I mean, there was no way that was going to happen. And I just knew that for this season. Now, this would expectedly be his last season there. But yeah, I was not shocked at all. I mean, I expected it.
So who's the early favorite to win the Big Ten? Indiana, Purdue, or Michigan State?
It's not Indiana. Indiana got screwed by everybody putting that tag on him, including me. I mean, we all thought that they were going to be the one to win it last year. I think that hurt them somewhat. I think it put pressure on a team that was not capable of handling that kind of pressure.
Well, they had the major injury to, Xavier Johnson, don't forget.
and Ray Thompson, but
They had to, I think they had to kind of rebuild their team and rebuild their style of play. And I give Woodson credit for keeping the course because we've seen in the past with injuries under past coaches that teams have fallen apart and use that as an excuse, and Woodson didn't.
Exactly. No, he never did. And I agree with you 1,000%. The Ray Thompson injury, that hurt Indiana in a different way because Indiana just didn't handle it very well. And they had that 20-something point lead at Iowa. They lost that game. That was just a terrible run that started a bad deal for them. But I think overall they're going to be a better team, but we'll find out. What's up next for you, man?
Yeah, I will be in I'll be at the ballpark pretty soon. I mean, it's a noon start, so I'll probably be there around 11 a.m. And if you want to follow along, if you're a college baseball fan and want to read my entertaining tweets from the Gators versus Texas Tech at Kevin Brockway G1 and follow my coverage on Gator Sports. And but I do miss you guys, and I am pulling for the Hoosiers today over Kentucky. We can, it'd be nice to see all those Kentucky fans go home disappointed.
Absolutely. We miss you, brother, but we're grateful to have you on. It's just like the old days. We look forward to doing it again. Have fun out there today.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
Okay, bro, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. He's heading out to the ballpark. College baseball going on. We've got more coming up. Our buddy Dustin Dopirak joins us next from the Indy Star. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's
Good day.
Good morning, Jim. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you doing?
Doing well.
How was your weekend?
Fantastic. Mike Miller's wedding. Great times.
Oh.
St. Louis. So we just got back. You remember Mike?
Yeah. Oh, shit. The writer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who does he write for now?
St. Louis Magazine is an editor now. His wife, his girl he just married, is a professor at Washington University of St. Louis. She was a professor at Kelly here.
Oh, wow.
In Bloomington. So they met in about 2018, I think, somewhere in that range. So he moved out to St. Louis in 2019. So like right after. Actually, we actually checked their timeline. It was like right after we got married, they moved to St. Louis. So.
Yeah, I forgot. Damn, I forgot about him.
Yep.
I didn't. I think we only crossed paths for like a year.
Right. Yeah, he'd have been.
Was he writing for the Times then?
Yeah, he was my successor in Bloomington.
Yeah.
So we worked together. He covered high schools the last couple of years I was here. So he and I were really close to that period. But so yeah, he was at the Herald Times until he left in 2019, gave the job to John. Because we actually hired Mike and John at the same time. And John started in news for us. So we moved John over. They moved John over to sports when I left. And then or did they do that before? I don't know. Yeah, I think they moved John over to sports when I left, and then they moved John into Mike's job when Mike left. So yeah. But yeah, so that was good times.
Well, we've had a great discussion on the Joey Hart thing, boy. It's people are getting out there like, I'm like, why would you not?
I didn't even see the Joey Hart thing. What happened with Joey Hart?
He just I may have
decommitted from UCF and he's visiting Indiana and Kentucky.
I think I may have broke the story story that he's visiting. I'm not positive. I would have to go back and look, but
yeah.
But yeah, he's apparently in Bloomington right now.
How about that? Okay.
And it's a good fit for that spot that they need. It's an Indiana kid, which I think helps.
It does help. It does help. I mean, I think
they don't have what do they have? Like 3 guys on the roster that are from Indiana. Yeah.
I mean, there is the sense sometimes like IU fans sometimes think an Indiana kid is going to be magical and he's going to walk.
And it's not necessarily that. Is you don't want him. You don't want to see him become Kentucky.
No, you don't.
And by that I mean the year in, year out, Kentucky's roster has no relation to the state of Kentucky.
Right. Well, not only that, it's not even so much becoming Kentucky. Like, let's be serious. Like,
15 seconds.
It's more important for Indiana to recruit Indiana than it is for Kentucky to recruit Kentucky.
Yeah.
And
here we go.
Evidenced by the All-Star game every year.
In your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Monday. I hope we're getting your week started off right. If not, we're trying our best. Dustin Dopirak joins us from the Indy Star. That ought to get your week going. Dustin, how are you, brother?
Doing good, Jim. How you doing?
Good. We were in the break. We were talking. You spent the weekend in St. Louis. Mike Miller, a former writer on the Indiana beat, covering for the Bloomington Herald, married. So congratulations to Mike. But
congratulations, Mike and Nora. So yeah, we had a bit of a Bloomington reunion. Got Osterman and Alex McCarthy and Brody Miller out there. So good times there. Some IDS favorites and whatnot. Some IU kids. Was a lot of
that's funny. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And if people realize Indiana, that's IU. If we could count all the people that are working in sports media,
mm-hmm.
That number would be astounding.
Yeah, between TV and print, writing, and everything else.
Yeah. I'm an IU graduate, so I'd get counted in that too.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. I mean, just the writers that I have seen
mm-hmm.
come and go, from school.
Yeah.
In this last iteration in last 7 years or so. I mean,
mm-hmm.
Gosh dang it.
Yeah, no, it is.
How do you say Kreis? Is it Kreisnick?
Krashnik, I don't know. Steph.
Yeah, see, I love him to death.
Well, Steph and his girlfriend Gracie Barra, they're both Graces, and I think they're both working in Mississippi.
Oh yeah, she's on TV terrific. And he's writing covering Mississippi State.
Yeah, there really became a pipeline. Hugh Kellenberger kind of established a pipeline down in Mississippi, down there. Even though Hugh, and what's cool, is guys like me and Chris Corman and Hugh Kellenberger. And even Mike Miller didn't go there, didn't go to IU, but kind of developed a connection to the place by living in Bloomington, and I've tried to help for one thing, the IU kids that we get to know, and we've obviously stayed close with a lot of them, and so I'd like to think that helps, but really the biggest thing is there's been a lot of investment in the media school, a lot of investment in. There should be more in the IDS. The IDS is really great paper, but and also just all of these sites that have been around. And I know obviously you've employed some IU kids, working as well. There's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of outlets. Certainly just covering the beat for them to write on, so it allows them to develop. And so it's made for a very rich just roster of kids that are going different places. I mean, Brody's an IU guy. He's covering LSU at The Athletic. Brody's terrific. Brody's really good. Alex McCarthy's still in the business. Greg Rosenstein, I think was an IU kid. He's the MMA editor at The Athletic. There's just been a lot of talent coming out of there the last 15 years.
There's so many that I don't even know.
Yeah, Nathan Brown's an IU guy. He's our IndyCar guy. Just dominant, like exceptional coverage of the Indy 500 last weekend. And
does he cover the Colts?
What's up?
Does he also cover the Colts?
He had work on Pacers. Nate Atkins is the Colts guy, but he's not an IU guy.
Nate is going to be coming on with us. Nate Atkins.
Zach Kiefer is an IU guy. Like Kiefer's.
Zach's been on with us.
Kiefer's absurdly good, I think, as everybody knows. So yeah. So
and he teaches at IU, doesn't he?
Yeah, he teaches at IU too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Great school, and they're doing it. It's just grown. When I was in school, it was just the school of not just, but it was the School of Journalism. And now it is. Where is the journalism school in the media school? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, that's where you take your classes, I think. I mean, I don't know the whole of it, because obviously I don't go there, but that's where everything's located. Just anytime I've had, it's been a while, but yeah, it's everything is located in the media school now. There's some back and forth about that, and my wife's an IU grad too, so we've got a lot of thoughts about how making sure that print is continually stays in focus there. They've got a lot of focus in there, making sure the IDS is still as healthy as it ought to be.
Because it seems like it's taken a back seat to the media school itself.
I really hope not. I mean, like I would get out of turn if I started talking about this too much.
I would agree with you, because it has to. Anytime I have, like when Zach's on. You're on. Hey, I'm a subscriber to the Star. When I grew up reading the paper, man. I mean, from the time I was a freshman in high school, started with the sports section, of course, but I had a system. It was sports, then it was then I would just go to the front and then go through the main section and then whatever the entertainment was. But I miss reading the paper, holding it in my hand. It's just something about it, and but I still like. You have to keep newspapers alive for multiple reasons. They're the guardian to things a lot of times.
Democracy, in my mind, but yeah,
the stories. I mean, that's how you keep things. That's how you keep things on an even keel, so to speak.
You keep. Maintain accountability, all that kind of thing. No, absolutely. I mean, that's certainly my belief. And all of the other stuff is important too. All of, internet, digital reporting and everything like that, certainly TV, all radio, what we're doing, all kinds of mediums are really important. But the reason why I believe in the bedrock of print, whether it's physical print or just what you write online, it's the just core principles of reporting. Because no matter what medium you're reporting through, you still have to have the core ideas of how do you put together a story, how do you discern facts, how do you learn things, how do you get a hold of people, and I think you are better able to change medium if you have a print background than anything else. You've got to be able to write, you've got to be able to report, and whether that's whether you do that for TV or whether you do that for newspapers or whether you do that for some kind of online media that's not necessarily newspaper-ish, you still have to learn to qualify everything that you have with good reporting and ability to dig. So that's why I think newspaper reporting, basic journalism should always be front and center, whatever media school you're doing. So yeah. I got to get off my soapbox because I don't want to start saying stuff that gets me in trouble with the media school. But, because I don't even know how that's playing out right now. But just to make a pitch on proper print reporting basics.
We talked earlier about Joey Hart is a kid that he was a 3-star, but he committed to Central Florida. Then his senior season, he had a really good year, but then he followed that up with a good AAU, and his profile got raised, and he decommitted from Central Florida. Supposed to go visit Kentucky this week. He is in Bloomington now visiting. I think it would be a good fit for that open scholarship, that shooter position that they need. No, he's not a 5-star, but he just clicks the right boxes. He's an Indiana kid, which that doesn't matter as so per se, but I think that they need to have you need to have some Indiana kids on your roster because for one thing, you never know when the connection, maybe there's a connection between him and someone else that you're looking at for next year. There's just 1,000 different things. But Joey Hart's a good kid. 6'5" shooter. He's going to get better. I think that he would be a really good fit for that spot. A lot of people have disagreed on here today with the comments, but that's fine. I'm wrong a lot, but
No, I mean, I think at this point in the year, I mean, it obviously it's got a lot of there's a lot of moving parts to that as far as okay, when does it make sense? When does it not make sense? Like at this point in the year, it's June 5th. Everybody's guys are already they moved in this week. So what you're going to get at this point, it's like, all right, what's your ultimately return on investment? Like you can't, not getting another 5-star at this point. The fact that they got him back, bro, as late as they did, is a big deal and is rare. And so it's like, okay, if he's available, like you said, he checks a lot of boxes. I mean, I haven't watched him, too closely or anything like that. But if he's a guy that can shoot, if he's a guy that can play the wing, that's helpful. And now you don't take him on the expectation that he's going to be some kind of superstar. You like that he has some level of contribution. But to your point, I think it is important to maintain some connection with the state. Make sure that you've got some guys there from the state that can go out and be ambassadors, go out and say, man, yeah, you totally want to come here. And because, it's first of all, it's important that like the points like that IU gets in recruiting from being like the cool school in state is important. And so like that keeps them in with just about every major recruit that comes out of Indiana. And I like, it's still the most important natural resource you have at IU is the ability to recruit. That there is talent that comes out of here. I think it like sometimes not sometimes frequently. I believe IU fans think there's more to it than there is as far as the that you could like build a Big Ten championship program if you only recruited Indiana kids. I don't think you can do that at this point. But there's enough important ones and good ones that come through that it's got to be part of your base. And that you can kind of go to that pipeline, even if, if you go through a stretch where you can't get anybody out of DC or you can't get anybody out of Atlanta, being able to still consistently get, at least decent kids from the state of Indiana matters. I mean, obviously, their best player they just lost, not lost sounds, ridiculous because he did 4 years, but, Trace Jackson Davis was their best player. He's a Center Grove kid. Trey Galloway is going to be an important piece of this. He's an Indiana kid. You still got Anthony Leal. I mean, so it's not like if they don't get Joey Hart, it's like, well, they've totally lost the state. But it's important. I mean, I think, that was a tough deal for Tom Crean at the end. And I don't, Tom Crean's story with recruiting Indiana is a saga. It's not a situation like he didn't notice the importance of it. He absolutely did, invested, and he took some lumps as far as that was concerned. Not all of that was his fault. So I think that what was I going to say? There is complications involved there, keeping in with the state, keeping them happy while still recruiting the rest of the country, which you also have to do, is a tightrope walk that I think Mike Woodson has the personality to do. But like, again, you can't just base it on that, but you do every once in a while to keep somebody in state. I mean, I do think, I'm sure people will say, well, like, Anthony Leal, how much do you really produce? Anthony Leal is a good ambassador for you. Anthony Leal helps. Like
Anthony Leal's the best teammate probably on the IU roster. Yeah. And I hate when people call him a mascot. That is so degrading because he works his ass off. Right. He didn't go in and put a costume on. He's in practice every day with those guys, going through the same drills, the same, putting in the same, sweating the same, all of that.
He's a Mr. Basketball, man. He's got talent.
And working, talking about Joey Hart, whether it's CJ Gunn or Trey Galloway, I don't care. Make each other better. Right. Make each other fight for those minutes. You want somebody pushing the other person to fight. That's what makes them better. And then having the ability to Trey Galloway will probably start at the 2 now. That if this comes to fruition with Joey Hart, but we'll see. But we've got to take a break. We'll talk more about it. Dustin Dopirak with us from the Indy Star. Back with more. Brought to you by Barbara Pop Real Estate. For those down in the Louisville or Southern Indiana area, served those communities for 3 decades. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or buddy Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market, what you got planned for this week?
What were we gonna say? Just draft workouts. We should probably touch on this because Trace is coming in today.
Yeah. See, I hate that I can't be up there for that.
So it'll be fun. It'll be interesting.
Who else they have coming in today? I didn't look at the email.
Who's the workouts? Emmanuel Acott from Western Kentucky, Tyree Appleby from Wake Forest, Chris Livingston from Kentucky, Terquavion Smith from North Carolina State, and Aswalas Tubelis from Arizona.
Wow, I guess the guy from UK.
Yeah. So I don't know. Livingston, like basically everyone was telling Livingston not to stay in. So we'll see what his deal is.
I tell you what, Kentucky's situation is real weird with their scholarship amount they still have available for next season after all the guys that, because Antonio Reeves, even though he withdrew, his recruitment is essentially reopened. Like he didn't say he's coming back to Kentucky. He's going to potentially explore other options, which is interesting.
Who is?
Antonio Reeves.
Yeah.
See, it's just something. It just seems like Kentucky seems to be exactly what we think they are. It's just a basketball factory. There just doesn't seem to be a relationship. They're just removed. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think it's tough to say. Like, it does seem like there's been a sea change there, and not that it when they were a one and done factory, it was sort of like it did seem like there was a connection, but it was like, okay, like you're a part of this machine.
Yeah.
But like like you were these like 1 year alums, and everybody was okay with that because it was like, look,
winning.
You're winning, and look at who you're with. Like, look at who you're associating yourself with. Like you're John Wall and Anthony Davis, and like you're the next in line. And it's like when that starts to slow in terms of its like effectiveness, and when they started actually losing, like I kind of feel like that ran through that 2015 team. And it started to disappear since then.
Here we go, guys.
On a date with your spouse, friends, or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Monday to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle, Dustin, Dopirak with me from the Indy Star right now. Pacers having their workouts today, and they've been having them. But Trace Jackson Davis on the docket today, along with Chris Livingston from UK and a few others that I assume you'll be there to watch.
Yep. Well, not watch. I mean, we get they let us in when it's over, and then we get to talk to them.
Really?
So,
now, when I went up, I remember the last time I was up there, Jawan Morgan was going through workouts, and I remember watching him go through shooting.
Yeah, I mean, like usually when they let us in, they break at the end, and they get to do a little bit of shooting drills, kind of individually, and they bring us over. So, there's 6 of us, so there's 6 of them, and they bring whoever we want to talk to over one at a time. So it'll be I will probably get 3 of them today. I mean, we'll probably want to talk to Tubelis. We'll probably want to talk to Smith. Probably want to talk to Livingston just to get an idea of what he's doing, because I think it seems like everybody thinks he's crazy for sticking in this thing. But yeah, so but we don't get to see the full boat, like we don't get there. We're invited at 11:45. I think they start significantly earlier than that. So we're not going to see, kind of the 3-on-3 work that they have, the 1-on-1 work that they have. We'll get to see some shooting and stuff like that, but not as detailed, not as much as we saw in the combine, for instance. So, yeah, like there's only gonna be so much, but mostly it's just, for us, it's get to go talk to Trace again, get a sense of how this is going for him and everything like that.
Yeah. First of all, Indiana currently has 3 players in NBA Finals right now. So somebody's going to win a ring.
Right.
I find it funny. Everyone, even when Indiana has not been great, they still produce pro players. And as a matter of fact, after this draft, they will have the most players from the Big Ten of any team. That are active right now. Trace Jackson Davis coming in for workouts today. It has not gone well for the Pacers trying to pick, guys from Indiana or, to get that for Oladipo. That worked until it didn't.
Sure.
And I don't know. This is another one. He's not going to play. If he makes a team, he's going to be, down there on the end, probably not playing a lot. I don't know. Who knows? But
yeah, no, I get a lot of discussion on my stories, comments and whatnot. I mean, this is what I would say is key as far as Trace is concerned with the Pacers. I do think some people are starting to try to talk themselves into the idea that he fits. I mean, just from obviously, you like to see local guys on a team in general, especially for somebody like a team like the Pacers that has been trying for all these years to really create a connection and frankly, does not have the same level. Doesn't capture the fascination of even Indy as much as its college teams do. And there's different reasons for that. Some of it being, just the college schedule was so much more because it's shorter, because there are fewer games, every game's bigger. And just I think everybody just happens to have more of a connection with college basketball and even high school basketball than they do in the NBA. Obviously in the NBA, in the life of Indiana basketball is more a more recent phenomenon. So I get why everybody wants to see that. And I think Trace is going to be a good pro. The reason it stands out, I think that it would be better for the Pacers and for Trace if they don't draft him, is because right now I think he trends as a small ball 5. And the Pacers already have a couple small ball 5s on the bench that they're having a hard time getting minutes for. In Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson. They have a starting 5 in Miles Turner, who I think's minutes should go up. Unless, it seems like you're starting to hear his name in trade talks again. But I think it's if you're moving Miles this year, after you just gave him a big extension, you better get a massive payoff. I mean, he better be part of a huge deal that brings you a superstar, or a really, really big time player at this point. But more likely, Miles is going to be the starting center this coming season. And I don't think they're ready to give up on Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson yet. So if you've got both of those guys, he's going to have a hard time getting minutes again. Even when they just tried to get some work for Daniel Tice just to prove to everybody that he's still a worthwhile center to have in this league, those guys were going games without playing. So you don't want to be thrown into the mix there and go several regular season games in a row without getting any minutes. So I think Trace would benefit going someplace that needs depth at the 5. But I think he can fit. I do think he can be a really useful player, for a team. I think he's athletic enough. I mean, he can be a rim protector. He can be a rim runner. He can finish lobs. That's the biggest things you need out of that position as a backup 5 right now. I think he can do everything that you want him to do. And I think he's got some skills that don't necessarily stand out in the same way, because you're not posting up 6'8" guys in the post all that much. But his ability to handle the basketball, his ability to pass the basketball is important. I think the biggest thing that he's going to need to prove going forward, I mean, the jump shot's important, but we talk about it all the time. Switchability on defense is going to be the big thing that makes or breaks him, I think, long term, is his ability. I think he's pretty good at it. I don't think he's great at it, is the ability to switch and defend the pick and roll. if he gets, basically gets in a 1-5 switch, 1-5 ball screen, being able to take that guard for at least a couple steps, and being able to help and recover, that kind of deal, I think is going to be the biggest thing that decides whether he's a pro for 10 years or not. He's got to be able to defend that position. I just don't think that it seems like he's leaned into being a 5, and you can be a 5 at 6'8" in this league at this point. It's a smaller league. It's a faster league. Like for a while, Denver, last night, Denver was at its most effective when Aaron Gordon was playing the 5. When they took Jokic off the floor. Obviously, Jokic got up with 41, and he was special. But there was a stretch where the Nuggets decided to defend the Heat small, and they got after them, and they caused a bunch of turnovers. And they were behind for a while and got back in that game. Obviously, they ended up losing it, but still, you can put together lineups with a small guy at the 5, and be able to switch everything. And cause havoc for people for at least a little while, on second units and stuff like that. So I think he's got a future. I think he's just his intellect really stands out, and it really matters at the NBA level. The ability to keep yourself engaged intellectually in the game on a daily basis, do everything that you're supposed to do, basically be disciplined. I think Trace just has the mental game really well. I think that puts him in good position, but I think ultimately he trends toward being a center, and, the Pacers need a power forward. And they've got more than enough centers already. They've had to throw several by the wayside. They're going to have to move Daniel Tice somehow, some way. I think he's still a useful player too. And I think they got to find a way to get rid of him this offseason so they can let Jackson and Jalen Smith flourish. I think those guys are going to have a chance to be really good players, each of them. And they're probably going to have to move one of them in the not too distant future. So I don't think you need to get to be part of that glut at center. You want to go someplace that does not have a glut, that gives you an opportunity to play and make an impact right away coming off the bench. I don't think he's going to be a starter for anybody this year. He might not ever be a starter for somebody, but there are minutes to be had for him long term coming off the bench as a center. And so I think he wants to. You want to get him with somebody that gives him that opportunity right away.
And the knock on Trace Jackson-Davis obviously has been that he doesn't have a shot. And first of all, I don't believe that that's true. I just don't think that he either has the confidence in his shot, because I know he can shoot. I watched him shoot out in Albany or wherever we were during warmups and whatnot. I don't think that Indiana's style lent itself to him shooting much. But he'll work. That's just something he'll work on. And he's athletic enough. I think that he will be able to get to a point that he needs to be, that it's not so much as a hindrance, but because he has so many other attributes that you just listed.
Yeah. You don't have to do it that much. I think it don't get me wrong, it matters. I would say for him to be a starter, a consistent starter for somebody, he's got to hit it.
Right. You got to score 18 points a game if you're going to start.
Even at the 5, you better hit a pick and pop 3. It's a question of certainly whether he's playing the 4 and the 5. It depends on what kind of shots he's getting. If he wants to be a 4, he's got to hit them. He's got to hit a lot of them. In that case, you got to be able to stretch the floor as a power forward in the NBA at this point, for the most part. If you're going to start, if you're going to be starting 4, you absolutely have to shoot threes, and you got to be able to hit corner threes. You got to be able to run the floor, spread it. And so he's got to get a lot better if he's going to play the 4. To play the 5, he's got to get a little better. He doesn't have to get a ton better, but he has to be able to hit a straight on pick and pop 3. Just from the top of the key, he's got to be able to hit that shot on occasion, or even on a short roll to be able to hit a 10, 15 footer. But he doesn't have to do that right away and make an impact, and make a difference and be a guy that can come off the bench and be useful. That's I think the biggest thing is he's got NBA usefulness, ability to make an impact without having to shoot it, but it's just his long-term potential does include some 3-point shooting. Doesn't have to be lights out. Doesn't have to come in and shoot 40% from 3. Doesn't have to be that good. If he can be in the 30s, low 30s, I think that's fine. If he hits 1 a game, that's perfect. That's terrific. If you can even rely on him for that. that'd be a good deal. And I think, I mean, he can shoot it reasonably well. I mean, he can, just from watching him, he's never going to be a great shooter. He's never going to be a lights out shooter. I don't don't know if he's ever going to have the confidence in it. And I think he could have taken more threes. I think his thing was, look, if I'm shooting 65% around the rim and I can get to that shot whenever I want it, that's what we needed to win. And so that was his argument, and I get it. I get that, and I think there's a lot of logic behind that. He's like, what's the point of me chucking up threes just to prove I can do it, and only hitting 30% of those and throwing possessions away when we need every possession, to win, and you haven't won in how many years? So it's like, I think that was really a driving force for him. It's like he was never on a good team. He never felt like he had, possessions to waste. I think he always felt like you got to make the most out of every possession, because if you don't, that's the difference between you being a 4 and having a chance to win some games and being an 8 or a 9 and being in trouble or being on the bubble again. I think I understand why he was like that throughout his career. But he's got to hit it at some point. I think there will be some time. I imagine that he'll spend some time in the G League, and I think that could really help him. I think is to be able to go somewhere where the results don't matter. And I've been saying that for years now, is that he could really use some time playing in a situation where he is just told, just shoot, because we don't care who wins. It doesn't matter who wins. And get that through your head. This is about skill development. It doesn't matter who wins this game at all. Just go do it. And because I think as long as he feels like the games matter, he's always going to do what wins. And so, that's something that you need to step away and play some games that don't count, or they count, but no one cares, to be able to develop some of those skills and feel the permission, I guess, to go shoot the 3 and not feel like you're being judged for being selfish. I think that's one thing, is he always did what Indiana needed. I think that's a really good selling point for him in the draft. That's a question I asked him. Like, do you view it that way? And he said, yeah, I absolutely do. That's something he can tell teams, like, hey, you guys are telling me for years to shoot 3s, but it was wrong for my team, so I didn't do it. And I'd like to think that you respect that. That's something that matters to you, that it stands out that I'm not out there trying to impress you guys. I was out here trying to win, and I hope winning impresses you guys. I hope you look at what Indiana did in the time I was there, what I went through, and still got them to this point, and had the kind of career that he had, that that's something that stands out to you, is that somebody you want to have on your team, because I think it's a selling point. And I think that's going to engender goodwill with general managers, talent evaluators, teammates, and that matters. And the teammate part matters. When you're going to be coming off the bench, that you're not going to be one of the top 3 or 4 guys in the team. Being a good teammate is really, really important. Being able to fit into a locker room, being able to fit in on a team, help each other out, makes a huge difference. And all of that is going to be really good selling points for Trace. I mean, I just think the personality piece, the intellect piece, is going to be a big part. It is going to move him up draft boards and give him a much better chance of sticking around long term.
That's reminds me, Joey Hart. Rusty commented earlier that he's got a really high basketball IQ. Well,
it matters.
That never hurts.
No,
that only helps. It only helps you in so many ways. Teammates can learn. Teammates learn from teammates. Everybody does not know. They don't know everything. You learn. You're always learning. So that's another reason on the Joey Hart thing. Jalen Hood-Schifino. The Pacers have 46 first-round draft picks this year.
3. No, I mean, I don't think they'll.
I know they don't need him. I know they don't need him, but that's another opportunity to do that.
I'm sure they'll bring him in for a workout just to do it. I do think, to be real about it, I mean, the Pacers bring in some of these guys as a goodwill gesture, even if they don't fit. And it's good to know going forward. I mean, like it's possible. Obviously, the Pacers roster situation could change, and it's important to bring these guys in the facility for years to come, to be able to say, all right, get to know him. Does he have a good personality? Is he a good fit? I mean, they might not have Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson forever. There might be a time where they need, more depth at the 5, and they'll probably have to pay more for it to get Trace back. But again, like you can stockpile these guys, and it hurts their development. and they don't end up becoming what you need them to become. I mean, it's a very real possibility they can't draft Trace now, and 3-4 years from now they've got to pay him $10 million a year or something like that when they can get him for cheap now. But if they got him for cheap now, they'd bury him, and that might hurt his career, and ultimately end up being a wasted asset. Where if you give him, 3 to 5 years someplace else, you got to pay him more money, but he might end up being valuable for you. But it's important to get to know some of these guys. But the point is, right now it doesn't make sense for them to draft Jalen Hood-Schifino. It does not make sense for them to trade late round picks. Because what they'll have to do, I mean, they're not going to pick Hood-Schifino 7th. That's kind of too high. That's kind of above his range right now. I mean, they'll look for, it'll be a Jarris Walker, a Cam Whitmore, Taylor Hendricks, one of the Thompson twins if they're still around. One of those guys I think are bigger pieces of interest for them at that lottery pick setting, or maybe they try to move up and get Brandon Miller. But there are, I think, I imagine guys that they'd be interested in moving up into the top 20 to get. They'd like to maybe move 26, 30, 29, 32 to get up to maybe 16, 17. But Hood-Schifino is not one of those guys because you've got a lead point guard already, and I think Hood-Schifino, they not only have a lead point guard, but they have a secondary point guard in Andrew Nembhard, and a really, really good backup in TJ McConnell as a real second unit guard, point guard. So they don't need that piece right now. I mean, maybe, you say, all right, we're going to let McConnell walk in a year if that's their plan, or whatever it is. But maybe we could use another guy. But I don't think they move assets to get him. But I think there's a lot of good spots for Hood-Schifino. One thing I keep seeing is the Miami Heat. I think he'd be a great fit there. Because like Gabe Vincent's a nice player, Max Strus is a nice player, but they don't have a really dynamic one, and Hood-Schifino could go in there and be that guy. I think add some even more talent to a Heat team that's already got a chance of winning this whole thing.
Absolutely. I can't wait for the NBA Summer League. That is turned into must watch TV. It's just it's really fun to watch these guys try to compete and stay on the teams, make teams. It's especially in the summer. There's nothing else. USFL is a waste of time. I'm like, why? I looked somewhere yesterday.
I don't even care. I don't know anything about it.
I looked up and I'm like, why? There's nobody. There was no one in the freaking stands. And I'm like, who's paying for this? And why? Because it's just nobody cares.
That's a long story. But like Pittsburgh has a team. It's not in Pittsburgh. I don't even know where they play. Like they brought back the Maulers from the old USFL. And I think last year they were in Birmingham, Alabama. There's someplace else now. They might be in Ohio. I think they're slowly moving their way up to actually get into Pittsburgh, but they do not play in Pittsburgh. So I might have to Google it, but all I know is the Pittsburgh Maulers currently do not play in Pittsburgh. It's cool that they brought the name back because, it got all kinds of, my dad had Pittsburgh Maulers t-shirts. Like they were a thing,
I'd like to have a Maulers t-shirt, but
it's a great name. It's a great name for a team, but
it is.
It's not. They have the Pittsburgh name. They are not in the city at all. They're not in the state.
That's funny.
Else. Yeah,
that is hilarious, man. What's coming up next for you?
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a lot of draft stuff. We got 17 days until it gets real. So I'm sure there will be, I imagine there'll be several of these multi-team workouts. But I think the interesting part, obviously, is going to be who they bring in individually. They brought in Cam Whitmore last week, so I think that is interesting. I think he's a guy that fits their bill pretty well. If he's still on the board, we'll see if they try to make a move. Because I do think they'd be interested in Brandon Miller. Could they move up to 2 or 3 to try to get him? What would that cost them? I think is an interesting question. So, we'll see. We'll just be following this next couple of weeks, just see how they put things together. And then, starting at the end of the month, the league season flips over and then you get free agency and trades and everything like that. So the movement time is coming for the Pacers. I think, they are very interested in being aggressive. So we'll see what that leads to and what that costs. But they are interested in making some bold moves this offseason. So we'll see what those turn out to be.
and next Monday we'll see who won. Well, maybe by then the NBA Finals. It would be utterly amazing if, and this is not anything against Thomas Bryant, but it would just be amazing to see Victor Oladipo and Cody Zeller win a ring together.
Yeah, it'd be wild. I mean, it's unfortunate that Vic doesn't get to play.
Right.
Obviously, I mean, I don't think he's even making the road trips. Obviously, I don't know if he can. With the torn patellar tendon, I saw some video of him or pictures of him showing up at pregame shoot around, basically in crutches and everything. So it's just a shame to see him in that position again. It would have been really nice to be able to see them playing together and to get a ring together. And it's cool they've got this far. Cody had a rough night last night. Cody had to deal with Joker straight up and didn't go well for him in 8 or 9 minutes. It was rough. But he's I think he's had some contributions. He's got to be on a really good team. If you know Cody, Cody's another one of those guys that, I mean, he is a beloved teammate. Guys like playing with him. He does what he's supposed to do. There's nothing dominant about him at this stage. Obviously, we saw him dominate at the college level. He's not capable of overpowering people and outrunning them the same way that he did when he was in Indiana. But he's a good teammate. Jimmy Butler likes him, from what I can tell. And he gets some of those minutes behind Bam. He's been useful. Obviously signed late in the season, just joined up with that. He's made a positive difference for them at the end of the day. They are better off for having Cody Zeller. Now, again, you don't want him straight up against Joker too much. You're probably going to lose that battle because Joker might be the best player in the world right now.
I was going to say that's going to be the case for most people.
Yeah, no one's beating him. No one's beating him right now. I mean, again, like they were talking last night, and Spoelstra thought the question was stupid, but that is the right thing to do against Denver. Just kind of let Joker get his points and keep him from dishing out assists. If you can hold him, you can give him 41. And still beat him if he doesn't have 10 assists on top of that,
that's true. That's like with Indiana last year. Trace was going to get his, but he also was very good passing out of the post. And so that's exactly what
Joker's the best. Joker's might be the best passing big man we've ever seen.
And I think the same thing is that's the deal on Purdue. You got to guard Edey, but he's going to get his 30.
Right.
So, but go just shut these guards down and
be able to help and recover. Yeah. Make sure that you've got guys out on shooters and you're not giving them open ones. That's the biggest thing. But bottom line, Cody's made an impact, and it is cool to see him be in a position. I mean, it's 1-1 after 2. They got a road win, so this Miami team will not go down easy.
They're not going to get swept.
They're not going to get swept. They're going to make this a series. So,
and they won. That was in Denver.
That was in Denver, so they won a road game. It is a series now, so it's I mean, they've got you cannot rule them out. They've got this far as an 8 seed. They
lost 3 straight games and managed to win finally put it away on the road.
They're entirely too tough. They're not dead until they're dead. It's not over until they're finished. You can't even if they're down 3-1, if they lose the next 2, I'm still not going to believe they're dead until it's zeros out in the last game. Miami will always have a chance.
Well, we'll certainly keep tabs on it, brother. Thank you very much. Make sure you're giving Dustin a follow. Make sure you're a subscriber to the Indy Star. I am. Keep up with everything that he puts out. Brother, I can't thank you enough. As always.
Anytime, man. See you next Monday.
Have a great day. Yes, sir. Dustin Dopirak joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We've got more coming up. Brought to you by Metalworks Brewing Company, located just off the square in Bloomington on 6th Street, and served in all the Endeavor hospitality restaurants. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's...
I'm going to step out to use the restroom.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. I love that one. This, that, and then that. All right. This, that, the other 10. I need one to get stomped.
Where's you?
We can do two 15-minute segments here and we'll be good to go. One minute, Jimbo.
I should have had you get some clips from Huber's.
We do have two that we haven't used. One from Tom Allen and one from Jalen Lucas.
We need to get some more basketball ones because we had Xavier and
Mike Woodson.
So we could just take different ones from there each day.
Okay. All right, here we go.
With quality, local, and organic food as their main focus, Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious, 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back on this Monday. Appreciate you being with us. Brought to you by our good friends down at the Bedford Courtroom Sports Grill. Great Cajun cuisine. Stop in and visit. Great place to watch a game. Take the family. Lots going on today, Indiana and Kentucky in a winner-take-all game at 6 p.m. today. So make sure that's on ESPN Plus. So a lot of people are not able to watch that unless this game is on ESPNU potentially, since there are much less games going on. I have to check that. I don't know that, so I'll have to check that. But it is at 6. Trying to see how many other games. Florida and Texas Tech, of course, played. K-Bro down there at that game said he was 13 hours yesterday. That's longer than he works for basketball. Look and see who all had won already. Southern Miss versus Penn. That game's started at 3. Starts at 3. LSU and Oregon State are playing today in the Baton Rouge Regional. Virginia won the Charlottesville regional. That looked like a pretty easy regional. Tennessee beat Charlotte, who beat Clemson 9-2. Tennessee wins over Charlotte to win that regional. South Carolina won their own regional, beat Campbell. Some of these teams that get into the baseball NCAA, you're like, really? Coastal Carolina taking on Duke at the same time as Indiana plays tonight at 6. Down in Coral Gables, Texas, beat Miami 10-6 to win that one. In Fayetteville, Arkansas and TCU today at 3. That's that TCU, man, that could be a game to watch. Yeah, they beat Arkansas once already, 20-5. Now that's a lot of pressure though when you beat a team that badly and now you've got to play them again because it's not that they're that much better than. I mean, they had a guy that hit 2 damn grand slams in consecutive innings, a single player. How amazing is that? Of course, I mentioned Indiana and Kentucky. Happens a little later on at 6. Oregon won their regional. They beat Xavier to wrap that up 11-2. Vanderbilt knocked out. Man, that's one of them that was delayed last night for a long time. A late game tonight out on the West Coast. Stanford takes on Texas A&M. That's tonight at 9. So we got baseball all day again. Oral Roberts. Okay. I finally have seen an acronym, John, that I don't. Oh, got it. DBU. Do you know who that is?
Gosh, I know I've heard that before. I'm trying to think. I don't think I know that off the top. No, who do we got?
Dallas Baptist.
There, and there it is. You were mentioning them earlier.
I looked and I was staring at that going, okay, who the hell is DBU? I've never seen it listed as DBU, and you never see Dallas Baptist unless it's baseball season. I got to look up. I don't have my everything access, but how big a school is that?
That's a great question. It definitely has to be. You would think.
Oh, I know it's a small.
In
school.
Terms of
but it's in
Division I schools, it has to be one of the smallest. But again, like you said, Dallas
Baptist. Just look them up and tell me how many. Or someone would tell me how many.
Their enrollment is.
Yeah, Terre Haute Regional, hosted by Indiana State. They got that done. They beat Iowa yesterday, 11-8. That was a tough regional. You had Indiana State, who is ranked in the top 15. Iowa, North Carolina, Wright State. That was see, did Indiana State? They didn't even lose a game.
They did not. By the way, Indiana or Dallas Baptist, what do you think their enrollment is before I tell you?
4,000. Very
close. I mean, yes, if we were rounding, you'd be correct. 42-47.
Man. That is unbelievable. That is smaller than Carmel High School. Is it Carmel, the one that has 5,000? What? I forget. I think it is. Anyway.
One thing we haven't mentioned real quick for college baseball in regards to Indiana. If Indiana were to advance from this regional, they'll take on the winner of LSU and Oregon State.
Yeah, they all have
I believe LSU has the upper hand in that right now.
Yeah, and that would be down south. Where is that? Who do they host this?
LSU is hosting their regional, so they will automatically host
they'll get the
if
super
that's the
regional.
case. Now, if Oregon State, I don't know what seed Oregon State is off the top. If there are 2, then Oregon State will be the host. If there are 3, it could be either Indiana or Oregon State, depending on, I don't know how they decide 3 seeds and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if you can, do you have right in front of you what seed they are? Maybe I can find it real quick.
Well, I can't. I'm looking at the bracket, but it's not sliding, so I can't. There we go.
I might be able to find it here in a moment.
Who are we talking about?
Oregon State. I do believe they're actually a 3 seed. Yeah, they were.
They're
So Oregon
seed.
State.
No, they're a
was
2
the,
seed.
Oh,
They're
they
a 2
were?
seed.
Okay. Excuse me then. So yeah, then Indiana will be traveling if they were to advance to the Super Regional. Hopefully, they won't be staying in college dorm rooms this time around.
Well, I would imagine LSU wins that.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have to lose twice, as it is difficult to do, especially when you're a program like LSU. So, and if that's the case, Indiana will be playing in the largest college baseball stadium in the United States, Alex Box Stadium.
What's it hold?
Which they have played there before. They have traveled down to LSU in the regular season before, so it's not like they've never been there.
What's it hold?
It's a good question. Give me a moment, and I'll give you that answer.
Well, how do you know it's the largest and you don't know how big it is?
Because it was at one point. I'll give you the number in just a moment.
Yeah. Let's see.
Alex Box Stadium holds. Well, shoot. Hold on. I thought I had it in a second.
They haven't announced where the Super Regionals are yet, but I would imagine that one, if LSU wins, it'll be at LSU. And then Kentucky would have to go there.
Here we go. They've got over 10,000. They seat over 10,000 at Alex Box Stadium.
Okay, well, there's 3 stadiums in the SEC that have 10,000 seats.
I wonder if it's still the largest. Let's see.
I believe Ole Miss is one of those where Kylie goes. But yeah, it's going to be fun to watch this today, though. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Something to pretty fun, cool sport. Then we get the College World Series, and then the Super Bowl or Softball World Series.
Break.
So there's some good fun things coming up. The All-Star Game stuff's coming up. We'll be talking about that as the juniors played yesterday in Jeffersonville. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by our good friend, Hoosier Hank, at Hank's Pizza Mac, where you get great pizza, tot bowls, mac bowls, great stuff. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the
Does my microphone sound different to you today, or maybe I'm just hearing things differently?
No.
Like, do I sound more clear? I feel like I sound more clear. I could be wrong, though. Maybe I don't. Or does it sound less echoey?
It just sounds good.
Well, that's good. At least it sounds good.
Now, this is, I meant. Oh, go ahead.
Usually I feel like when I hear myself talk in my headphones, it sounds echoey, but for some reason I'm picking up that it's not, which is a good thing, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I meant to. They're a Division II school, but they compete in Division I in baseball.
So, same with, I think football is the same way. Well, no, that's not the case.
I bet they would. I know. I bet they compete. They couldn't compete in Division I in football.
Well, I know they're an FCS school in football, so that's technically Division I.
No,
it's Division I and a half.
FCS is, yes.
Yeah.
No, FBS.
No, FBS is like what
FBS
obviously whatever.
FBS is Division I. FCS is Division II. No, it's not.
I promise you, they're both considered Division I, but they're different. They're like subdivisions.
One is the football bowl subdivision, and the other
they're both different sectors of Division I. There's a separate Division II.
The schools that are in the other one all used to be Division II schools. So
It's an interesting thing, FC, the way they divide FBS and FCS.
Well, that's originally how it did. They took Division I and changed it to FBS, and they took Division II and changed it to FCS. That when the change was made, that's how it was done. Yeah, ISU is looking really good.
They have a baseball Larry Bird or something. Like, why are they so good?
I mean,
what's their calling card? They got a good offense. What is it?
Well, I mean, I haven't followed them, but you have to do what they're doing. You have to have pitching,
They have something.
defense, and offense, and it seems like they have all three.
Good for them.
It's going to be that's going to decide today's games. Pitching.
I just love knowing the fact that Indiana State is basically in the backyard of the federal prison where they do the death penalty.
It's where that's
always
killed. I believe they already killed him, and they killed the dude that blew up the building in Oklahoma.
All right, here we go. 10 seconds.
Brews and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Monday. Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Appreciate you being with me. Hope your day is going well wherever you are, that the sun is shining. Man, we had a ton of talk about today. And looking forward to watching the games, baseball games today as well. Trace Jackson Davis working out for the Pacers. We'll get some follow-up on that tomorrow. Joey Hart is in Bloomington for a visit to Indiana to potentially fill the remaining roster spot. Shooting guard, 6'5", exactly something that Indiana needs. Would be, in my opinion, a great fit for the team. He feels a lot, checks a lot of boxes. I think it would be a really good get for them. He visits Kentucky later. Another little recruiting tidbit that I think I broke this story on, like I said earlier, on Joey Hart's visit yesterday. I'm going to go back and check that. But here's one for you. Dylan Harper, and this was a little surprising to me, but I was told that Dylan Harper is apparently down to Duke and Indiana. I didn't think Indiana would really have a shot at Dylan Harper. This is Ron Harper Jr.'s brother. Ron Harper Jr. did not have a great relationship with Indiana, if you remember. Or Indiana didn't have a great relationship with him, fans, I should say. Which, that shows you these guys they treat things like business, professional. That stuff doesn't matter. Had nothing to do with him. But Indiana is in on him. And I don't mean that they're getting him, but I have been told by someone very close to the situation that it is IU and Duke. Now, what makes that ultimate difference? We'll see. But I think that Jalen Hood-Schifino, what he does obviously is going to help with things like that. And Mike Woodson talked about that. I think we played that clip once before, but I asked about the effect of these guys, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Trace Jackson Davis, what it's going to do for recruiting. Well, I'll tell you what it does. Look back at Kentucky and John Calipari, and when he was going through the one and dones like it was every year, it was, just a new crop, which was dumb. I just think it was, yes, they won a lot of games. And if winning a lot of games was your sole intent, yeah, there you go. But he had the most talent in the world for a decade and won one national championship with it. To me, that's not a successful run. That's just not, you're not accomplishing the goal. And that's to win it all. Those guys were not there. They were there just because there was a rule that you had to be 19 before you can go into the NBA draft. So basically, your options were college, then the G League, or overseas. But college was a good way to go. And now, oh my God, heck yeah, NIL. But all that was a basketball factory back then, Kentucky. And people talk about all the NBA players. These guys were all going. They were already projected as NBA players. It doesn't matter where they could have gone to Dallas Baptist and made it to the NBA. They were already projected before they got to Kentucky as just like Jalen Hood-Schifino. Well, not so much. He wasn't as locked in on that. He was thought to be a potential. I thought he was going to be a one and done, and it ended up being that. But he still has seemed to have improved his stock here of late. He got the opportunity, unfortunately, through the injury to Xavier. If that doesn't happen, I don't know that Jalen Hood-Schifino leaves, because I don't know. He probably still does, but he would not have gotten to develop like he did. Maybe he still goes. I don't know. Yeah, that would be we'll never know. But I think that would have been a real possibility that he stayed an extra year. But every time I say that, I remember back that, hey man, the first 20 picks in the NBA draft, they're freshmen or the equivalent. So life in the NBA is fleeting to get in there. I mean, you don't have college seniors anymore going into the draft. I mean, you're just not going to see that, because if you're good enough to be in the NBA, you would have been. So we'll see how it turns out. Trace Jackson Davis has obviously improved his draft stock a ton. He was not really, it wasn't really known. It was like, and now everything is pointing to him potentially. I think he's a second round pick, but you never know what somebody else sees, how they see it, how he has his workouts go. They're not basing him on his college days. They know what he did. They're watching him now. They've seen him play. They've been at the combine. They've got to bring him in for individual workouts. That's what they go on. And man, if you shine when it's the right time, Juwan Morgan was less likely to be drafted than Trace Jackson Davis, I think. But he had some good workouts. He got picked up. I forget who it was first. Was it Utah first or was that second? And he got to play in the league. I think he's out now, but he got in. And you get in for a few years, man, get that pension, baby. But that'll be coming up. So we're looking forward to that. Let's see, Pete says that 6 college baseball fields with over 10,000. 3 of those are in the SEC. The Charles Schwab Field in Omaha, of course, site of the College Baseball World Series. 24,000 seats, largest off campus. What? Wait a minute. Whataburger Field in Texas, 5,400 seat and free cheeseburgers? Where the hell is that, Pete? And why am I just finding out about it? There's a Whataburger Field. Man, there should be Whataburger Fields everywhere. There should be Whataburgers everywhere.
Take a look for looking at Whataburger Field. What we got here?
That's pretty cool. Fred pointing out lots of content for a Monday. Heck yeah. He enjoyed being enlightened on Joey Hart as well as IU baseball and TJD speculation. Appreciate you, Fred. Enjoy your days in Lazarus, Pennsylvania.
Whataburger Field is the home of Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Man, I was hoping that was going to be a minor league stadium, and they were going to be the Whataburger. I don't know, something. Have to come up with something good.
It could be dual. I'm trying to see if it's dual usage. I can't tell, but it is used for Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So it is what it is.
Man, that's too far south. That's in Corpus. That's on the daggone coast, man. That's like, is that southeast of Houston on the coast?
It's a good question. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Oh, well. Free cheeseburgers. Man, that sounds good. A free Whataburger sounds good. Haven't had any. I would pay for them. Let's see. We'll continue to keep tabs on the NBA Finals as Thomas Bryant and the Denver Nuggets are dealing with Victor Oladipo and Cody Zeller's Miami Heat. Somebody's getting a ring. I'm going to have to research and see how many rings IU players have won, I wonder. Very interesting. Pete points out that the Hooks are AA, and they play at Whataburger Field. Why the Hooks, man? They should be the
Corpus Christi Hooks.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they should be the, oh man, spicy the Corpus Christi Whataburgers. You don't like that? No? Silence? Crickets?
It's great, but here there's obviously a problem with it. If you lose your sponsor, you lose your team name with that, if that's the case.
Yeah, who cares? It's minor league baseball. Nobody cares. Man, I can't thank everybody enough for being with us. Whether you're on radio, listening on radio up in the region, on the voice of the region, 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, WBRO, rather. Our friends over in Fort Wayne, I hope you all had a great day as well. People down on Evansville, on the ref, 97.7, always the right call, ESPN. So looking forward to hearing more about Dylan Harper. Looking forward to hearing about how this visit goes with Joey Hart. Of course, he's supposed to go, I think, going to Kentucky after that, which, man, you always prefer to have people last, but we'll follow up on that and see what we can get to you information-wise. But it was a busy day. Busier than I expected, but that's great. I love that. That's much more fun, is it not?
1 minute.
Can't thank you enough for being along with us for the ride, as always. Like I said, whether you're listening on radio or our YouTube broadcast, which if you are on YouTube, please hit the subscribe, notifications, and like buttons. We would greatly appreciate that. We appreciate you. It's been a great one. Look forward to doing it again tomorrow. Who's on the program, Johnny boy?
We'll hear from our good friend Mike DeCourcy. We'll hear from Chronic Hoosier, and we'll see what else we can do for you.
Perfect. For John, the producer, I'm going to thank K-Bro again, our buddy Kevin Brockway, Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star for joining us on today's program. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.